Republicans are on the defensive about this ruling in the same way they would be defensive when it comes out in June, because they know it is going to be incredibly unpopular, and it is almost as if they have pulled the pin out of a process that I don't think they can stop at this point. Because the logic of a ban on abortion starts to lead to a lot of things that are going to become increasingly repugnant to average, normal Americans, as measured by just the polling and also their sanity. Because if you ban abortion because it is murder, then you must arrest and prosecute the people who participate in that murder. That would be the mother. That would be the doctor. And if you believe, as we're seeing evidenced in other states, that life begins at fertilization, which incidentally is actually before conception.
Yeah.
Fertilization takes place before conception because the fertilized egg then needs to launch to embed itself in the uterus when we have conception. But now we have laws that are already starting to advance about fertilization. IVF, you have a problem. You have a problem with some contraceptives at that point, which prevent the fertilized egg.
Morning after pill?
Not just the morning after pill,
No.
actually, so like IUD.
Yeah.
Will narrow the lining of the uterus in such a way that the fertilized egg cannot embed there. And so they are terribly nervous in some respects, even though a huge percentage of them is horribly excited. They've never really contemplated. This is almost like, obviously, I'm not making an analogy from what it does in terms of rights, but this is like, that moment where we're going to repeal the ACA. And then what do? Hadn't really thought that part out.
Well, the dog's caught the car, as you'd say,
Yep.
or the kid who wanted a cookie is now he's just in a candy store by himself or locked in there, something like that. What are you going to do? What are you going to choose? What tactic are you going to take? I mean, and it's not just going to be abortion and contraceptive decisions. You mentioned the Abbott. They're going to try to get migrant kids not to be allowed in schools, overturning past precedents that they don't agree with. And yeah, the Supreme Court has sent out a bat signal for all of these kinds of things.
Here is Peter Doocy, always reliably delivering the talking points of the Republican Party in the form of a question at the White House. And this is where it's going to head with the Republicans. Here, play this clip.
The president's position on choice has evolved over time, so just checking for his official position. Does he support any limits on abortion right now?
Peter, the president has talked about his position many times. He supports the right of a woman to make choices about her own body with her doctor.
But I know that one of the Democrats that he endorsed and who won their primary this week, Tim Ryan, said yesterday that he does not support any limits on abortion. Is that where the president's thinking is now?
The president has stated his view many times.
So does the president support abortion up until the moment of birth?
The president has spoken about this many times, Peter, and I would refer you to his own comments about abortion and a woman's right to choose and make decisions about her body with her doctor, which is what any of those women would do. Go ahead.
The idea of abortion up to the moment of birth is a total fallacy. They started this when New York passed its Reproductive Health Act, which allowed practitioners to perform an abortion on a patient who is 24 weeks or more away from the start of a pregnancy. Roe v. Wade protects the right of a woman to get an abortion up to 24 weeks and then allows states to curtail that to the extent that they want to. Even in blue state New York, the change that was there, because prior to that, abortions after 24 weeks were allowed only when the mother's life was at risk. They opened that up to protect the patient's life or health. So if a pregnancy would materially impact a person's health, they were allowed to get an abortion. And who makes that determination? Well, of course, we should allow the members of the Senate to make the determination
Naturally.
as to how a woman's health or a patient's health this should always be the case. In every instance, when someone is facing a medical situation, we should allow the U.S. Senate or the legislature of a state to step in and determine if this really constitutes a significant enough impairment of your health.
Well, you're calling the woman a patient. She's not a patient. She's a vessel for the baby. That's what this is, right? I mean, you're like abortion up until the point of birth. That's not a thing.
That's misogynistic hysteria.
Yeah, no, that means that right, exactly. But they're trying to get that out there. But then that opens the door to other questions about, say, a baby dies close to birth or in birth, right? Was the mother an appropriately pristine vessel for that baby? Did she have a glass of wine? Did she go to work too much, work too many hours? Was it too stressful? Did she take the right kinds of nutrients? Because you can make a case if you have an overly aggressive prosecutor in one of these red states that that was an abortion by her actions because the vessel was impure.
The other situation where you could allow an abortion would be if the fetus is not viable. And again, of course, we want the Senate of the United States or the Republican majority of a state legislature to determine the viability of every fetus and overrule the licensed, certified, authorized healthcare practitioner. In every instance, of course, we want that. And we know that because they did a test run with Terry Schiavo 15 years ago about their ability to make these assessments while sitting in the Senate chambers or in their legislative chambers.